if you be so kind, now advise or give 5 more specific tips how people actually can be calmer, as you said, with more courage, and then
Sure.
connect that with the confidence during the
Yes.
interview process.
Yes, yeah, and more broadly as well, because I like to think these tips apply anywhere. That's often how I share them. That's how I apply to myself. If we think of feeling calmer, for me, that always comes back to the breath, Kristof. So if you think of yoga or Pilates or martial arts or mindfulness, all of those disciplines or practices are all based on the breath. So when we're nervous and anxious, we breathe high and fast in our chests. We're looking to breathe a little bit more slowly and a bit more purposefully. One of the things that I find particularly powerful there is stacking the breath a little. So you actually take a 2-staged in breath. So it's like in again, and then exhale. So you're doing it purposefully. It's not just taking a deep breath, but the body has that wisdom anyway. The way if we're nervous, we sort of say, take a deep breath and off you go. What breathing does is it brings us out of our busy mind, back into our bodies, grounds us. It's the only place where we feel control is in the present moment. And sometimes all we can control is our breath and how we choose to breathe. So that would be tip number 1, Kristof, a little bit more purposeful breathing. Mm-hmm. And my favorite form of that is the 2-staged in breath. I alluded to this one earlier, where if we think about courage, we have to know what courage is to know when maybe it's lacking. Similarly with confidence, we have to have a range of what confidence feels like. Otherwise, we can't say we're lacking confidence. We have to know what confidence is. So therefore, that makes us think about maybe times in the past where we did feel more confident or we did connect with our reserves of courage. Can I think about those times again? So our brain's a bit like a TV screen. Whatever images I bring up, I can reconnect with the feeling or sensations that went with it. So let me think about those times in the past where I did demonstrate the qualities that I want to demonstrate now. The next tip is one that has a double benefit if we're doing an interview, which is let me do a little bit of a brainstorm around some of my strengths. Because when we're lacking in confidence, we're focused on our perceived lack of worthiness. We're focused on our weaknesses. We're focused on the areas where we don't feel good enough. And of course, an interview, the foundation of an interview is knowing what your strengths are and being able to communicate that to an interviewer. If you think about it, the interviewers are there to try to learn more about you and to try to figure out what your strengths are. How will they know them if you don't know them because they're yours? And your job is to contemplate them and present them to the interviewer. But the practical byproduct of that is when we focus on our strengths and what we do well instinctively, things we're complimented on, stuff that comes naturally to us. It also boosts our levels of self-confidence as well. We're just shifting the dial a little to focus on what we do well frequently. 2 more quick tips. For most people, myself probably included, we could be Olympic class worriers. And for a lot of people, worry is what they're looking to move away from. They're looking to feel more confident instead of worrying. But worry, my favorite definition of worry is the long shadow of the worst possible future that we experience in the present. So we are thinking about the worst case outcome. And it's based on negative anticipation. Whereas if we think about excitement, for example, excitement is positive anticipation. Both of it is future-based thinking. Both of it is anticipation. That's why the sensations of nervousness and excitement in the body are practically identical, from shaky hands and wobbly legs and butterflies in the stomach, hearts beating faster, we're talking faster. Excitement and nervousness are so similar. So what I often say to people is if you're feeling worried, your body is doing the sensations of excitement, but could I just for a fraction of the time lean into positive anticipation as opposed to the habit, which has been negative anticipation, also known as worry or negative visualization. The last tip is one of my favorite ones. It's one that I go to, Kristof, if I'm feeling nervous and anxious, particularly with a big talk. I didn't have to do it here with yourself because I wasn't nervous for this one.
No, it's a great conversation.
It's a chat amongst friends. But it's like, what would someone I admire do? or if I could phone up someone I admire, what advice would they give me? And what that does is it's a key for accessing our own wisdom. So it gets us out of our own, how would I say it, negative loop of thinking, and gets us maybe to connect with something that's a little bit more useful or wiser. And I know recently with some of the clients I've been working with, the Prime Minister of New Zealand often comes up, Jacinda Ardern, and it's like, well, what would she do? And it's like, oh, as a compassionate leader or whatever, whatever we think she might do can be a signpost for ourselves in terms of how we show up. Or the Obamas are always there, or Nelson Mandela. You don't even have to be alive to benefit from that little strategy. So they would be a few very quick tips on what is a vast topic. But what I like to do when I'm working with clients in this area, Kristof, is give them a few different options, almost like a menu, and then try out a few different pieces yourself. And notice the difference, because no one else may not see anything completely obvious, but you may just feel a little bit calmer on the inside. And that's what this really is all about.
Wow. You actually remind me of a great book, Think and Grow Rich, when Napoleon Hill was presenting that in the hard moments, he used to talk with George Washington, in the people that actually inspired him and were not there, but he was asking their advice and imagining how.
I'm looking at that book is over there in my bookshelf. But the interesting, along with many others, but the interesting thing with that is what we're really doing is those people personify values that are important to us. So they're the antithesis of our view of a particular value. Like, so say if someone really values entrepreneurship, they might admire, say, Richard Branson. And when we're using that other person as a prompt or as a key for accessing our own wisdom, all we're really doing is using them to access our own values, the qualities that are important to us. So we're really self-describing when we think about people we admire. At minimum, we have the seeds of those qualities in us.
Feel free to join our LinkedIn group. Hopefully I will see you soon. Thank you.